Next topic, let's get to it. The University of Denver Law School announced a settlement in the unequal pay lawsuit brought by 7 women professors this week. The $2.66 million settlement included a mandate that DU hire an economist to study faculty pay for 5 years and the creation of a password-protected database of salary information. Michael, do you think this? What do you think of this settlement, and do you think it's going to have repercussions for other organizations, including other schools?
Well, I think it could. In this case, there was a settlement, and obviously, sometimes you settle stuff because you're worried about the PR or something like that. The PR was happening anyway on this, so I think they actually felt they did something wrong, and they actually, said here's a significant amount of money in order to help make that right. But I think, if it can happen at a law school, it can happen anywhere almost. It's like this is probably the last place that somebody should be doing this with all the expertise that you have in the room. But I'm somebody who does believe in merit-based pay. I think that not everybody should get equal pay just because that if they're better at certain jobs, that's great, but that's not what was happening here, obviously. The teachers that were here a long time that were really good at their job, and there was obviously something that had to be done. So I hope that different organizations, different schools take a deep dive into their salaries and look, are there inequalities based on race, on gender, whatever it is, that aren't merit-based, and assess it. So I hope this story gets out and that people do see it and they take it more seriously.
Penn, what do you think? I mean, a $2.6 million settlement is not chump change. That's a big deal. And it seems that some of the other, besides just the payment, the placements they're putting into making sure that this is addressed wouldn't just be DU. That, it seems to me, from the outside looking in, that could happen at other places to help address that issue if people felt that was an issue. What do you think?
Well, no, this is not chump change, and this is a significant development and settlement. And I think in many ways it shows the power of unconscious bias that exists in many institutions in our society. And you've got a place here, I mean, it's a law school where theoretically the people know the law, but they weren't following it. And it just shows you how pernicious some of this bias is. Now, the amount of money and the fact that they're going to have to make some remedial steps moving forward, and they're going to have to look back and rectify some of the inequities, tells you this is not just a settlement done just to avoid the embarrassment or the negative PR. I think the most disturbing thing in the DU case is the way the facts played out is there were female professors who told the administration there is a pay disparity. And they told the administration over a number of years, and the pay disparity still persisted. And no one paid attention to it, and no one addressed it. So DU can't possibly be surprised that law professors filed a lawsuit to correct the situation. This was inevitable.
Krista, I've had the distinct honor to speak at a couple of your classes. You've taught at Regis University, you've taught at the University of Denver, this is probably as an adjunct professor, but as a sometimes professor at other universities. Seeing this settlement, how do you feel about it?
On one hand, I think it is a good thing because there are unconscious biases, there are unfair things within the system that need to be rectified. On the other hand, I wonder though, what is our responsibility as women to ask for raises? I understand that one of the plaintiffs had never asked for a raise. Well, if the men were very aggressive in asking for raises and women were not, could that have played a part in this situation? I'm glad that this employer will be now more proactive in looking at different things and making sure that merit is taken into account. But also, I wonder if women, and I speak from my own experience, there are times I should have been more aggressive in asking for what I was worth.
Patty, you run a business. You have employees of both genders. You're making sure everything is as good as it should be for organization. You see a settlement like this and the different things that the organization is going to put in place. How does it impact somebody like you?
Well, Krista writes for me, and she's not getting a raise because she hasn't asked for it. You cannot put this on the women not asking for raises. I mean, you have to assume most companies, and certainly academic places, you're going to have yearly reviews, you're going to have tenure reviews, you have systems in place, and even if someone isn't asking for a raise, it is the right and proper thing to do as an employer to think about all your employees and to consider them fairly. So I know there was a woman who was arguing, I mean, she'd worked there for years and this was one of her decades, and she hadn't asked for a raise, but you would assume that it's being reviewed anyway. That's the right thing to do for an employer. Even if you don't have the money for a raise, you talk to them. And you certainly don't just give the raise to the squeaky wheel. So this has been in the works for a long time at DU. It shouldn't have had to come to this point, but I'm glad it did, and I'm glad they're taking the steps to remedy it. And I would guess all academia right now is considering the same things.